Well, hello, I'm Jerry McKee, and welcome to Prime Time. We got a special guest for you tonight, Shellem Cline, and he is a gospel country singer that's got all kind of hits on the chart. He's got one number one here we're going to listen to, and number one is "One for You" is what the name of it is. And we're
Right.
going to let you see Shellem here, and I just want you to uh, listen, and we're going to give you directions on how you can get some of his music and all this stuff here. We're going to find out a little bit about him, maybe some of the little stuff we're going to find out about him that he didn't want to tell, but I already know because I know him. And but he's a funny guy, and he writes his own music, and he also uh, writes plays too. And he drugged me into one of them. So we'll let me introduce you to Shellem Cline. Shellem, how you doing?
Doing well. How's everybody doing tonight? You doing good, brother?
I am doing fantastic. I'm going to do a split screen here, but just keep talking. Uh, now,
Sorry.
let me ask you this right here. I know that you used to sing in the gospel music with your family, and they were
Yeah.
called it was the Gilbert family.
Yeah, so I started in gospel music, of course, Southern gospel with the Gilbert family. And then my grandfather was actually diagnosed with Crohn's disease and came off the road. So I actually started going in as a soloist. Since then, I've worked with a couple other Southern gospel groups, but now I am hanging out as what the official title is Faith Country. That is the name now that they're going with. And so officially a faith country music artist, which basically means I get to wear my blue jeans and cowboy boots and sing about Jesus. So I like it.
So, so now let me ask you this. Now, how old were you when you just started singing? I know a lot of times we get as kids and like that, and we think we can sing when we were kids. I know myself the same way. But
Right.
how did you? When was it? What age was it that you said, you know, I'm sounding pretty good here?
Well, so obviously my grandpa put me up on the pulpit when I was like 6 years old to sing my first song from the McKee called "God on the Mountain." But it really hit. I tell everybody I got bit by the Christian music bug, if you will, to really start singing when I was about 16 years old. And so I really started doing kind of part time and really started to expand my ministry at the age of 16. And now, literally 20 years later, at the age of 36, we're full time doing about 120 dates a year, and God is just blessing all across the board, man, all across the board.
Now, what was your granddad uh, when you first went up on stage there? How did you feel? Did you feel like scared to death? I mean, how
Oh, you
was
better
you
believe it. You
eight
better
years old?
believe it. I felt like because he had me dressed up in a little suit and tie and everything, and it was so cool because I was so small. I literally got to stand up on the pulpit, and he was sitting there holding me, and we were singing, and they said I just belted out. Like, I mean, it was just belting with every ounce of my being, and but I mean, it was great. I had so much fun, and
Is that
it really shaped me into who I am today.
now? Is that when that bug hit you about singing?
Oh
After that
yes,
first time
yes.
like that?
Yeah, it was so weird when I was born. My mom and dad, our pastor, came the night that I was born and prayed, of course, for mom and dad right before they left. And as soon as he said "Amen," I grunted, and our preacher looked at my mama and said, "That boy's going to be a preacher or a singer." And well, here we are.
Well,
So he was right.
actually, it's a little bit of both, isn't it? In a
It
sense,
is. It is.
because
In a way, it is for
your
sure.
your music brings a message to everyone. Now, uh, your grandfather now was your mom or dad were they into music? Did they play, sing, or in church or?
My mom was, my dad really not so much. My dad was an interim pastor,
Uh-huh.
and so a lot of places like my dad would go preach. My family would go and we would sing before he would preach and things like that. And so that happened a lot. Dad wasn't really much of the singer. I tried to get him up there one time. We did a big kind of homecoming celebration a few years back, and I tried to get him up there. Yeah, he was like, "Mm-mm, not happening, no." So that's how that worked. But mom, definitely, it was basically my grandfather, my grandmother, my mom, and myself.
Yeah. Now, you not only sing, you write too, but people don't know also that you have written some plays, uh,
Yes.
and you kind of twisted me into playing in one, and I told you you gave me all these lines, and I'm sitting here. I can't remember these. I can't remember to turn around if I go in another room when I went there for. So how can I remember these?
I hear that.
And you said,
Yeah, we had so much fun, man. So before I really dove into full time in the music world, in the world of faith country music, I actually worked as like an activities assistant director, and a lady by the name of Kathy, which I think you know Kathy. She might be kin to you, right? Yeah.
yeah, she's kin to
But
me. She's a lot older than I am, though.
she's a lot older than you are. There you go. Kathy's watching right now. She's not going to be very happy with either one of us for saying that for sure. But no, but so me and Kathy, we had this mindset. Me and Kathy would play off each other so much, when we're doing activities with the residents, and we built a team to where like you just never knew what you were going to get. And we were sitting in the office one day just brainstorming, and Kathy and I came up with this idea. We should write a play and do an actual play for our residents, and it wound up turning into way bigger than what we thought it was. And we sat down and we wrote this play called Unlucky in Love. And I mean, it was funny. It was just good, clean, funny stuff to where people can just laugh and enjoy life. And we actually did it as a fundraiser. And of course, you were there that night playing part of it. And it was so funny, just absolutely hilarious, and actually sold the place out that night. We
Yeah,
did tickets and
that's what I
sold it
was.
out. It was so much fun. It was great.
Yeah, the people were just packed in there, and
It was literally standing room only.
yeah,
Literally, that was what was left.
and my part in the play was, since I couldn't remember nothing, I just had to listen to what y'all said and just say anything.
Exactly. Well, and that was what was so funny about the whole thing. Like we had our lines, but do we really go by it? No, we just made it up as we went on stage. And I think that's what made it so funny, and that's why people got so tickled. There were several times to where we would get cracked up at each other on stage, but
Exactly.
it made it real. And I see that with obviously transitioning back, that actually shows us that that's what my music ministry is right now, is
Hmm.
I want folks to know about real life stuff, things
Right.
that are going on in your life. And so that's what, just like that play, our funny laughter, our improv, if you will, it made it real in what people was dealing with. And that's where we are today. And and that's just my whole concept, and what my ministry is based around is, what, there's a lot of people that can fake it out there, but our world doesn't need a bunch of fakes. It's
No,
time for us to be
we got
real.
enough.
That's how
We got enough fakes out there. Now what?
exactly. And that's how we're going to win souls for Jesus.
Now when? Where do you get your inspirations from in writing music? Do you wake up in the middle of the night, or are you traveling? Are you stopping, or how?
Honestly, the answer is D, all of the above, for sure. So yeah, it's really interesting. I have in my phone, I'll have what I call like a lyric list, and it's just kind of like hooks and different things for songs that I'll get. Like I'll be out in Walmart. I've had people say things here, there, and yonder. I'll hear somebody speaking, and when I hear them, I'm like, oh, that sounds like a cool song, and we'll write that down, or I'll come up with something, and something just hits me, and it does. I mean, obviously, a lot of the stuff that I write is based off real life events, but it really it just depends, man. It's so funny how it all works together, for sure.
Well, I had Richard Sturman, the bass singer for Oak Ridge Boys,
Yeah,
and he was telling me how Elvira came into play. And he said his writer that wrote the song, and Richard said he's never written a song, but he said his writer
right.
that wrote it. He said he was at a stop sign and looked up, and there was a street sign said Elvira. He said that sounds neat,
That's
so
awesome.
he wrote it down, and he went down that street, and where the bop a mile comes in was
Right.
the potholes in that street. That's where he got that sound to, and then he wrote the
Nice.
rest of it.
Okay.
So you can get inspiration from anywhere, can't you?
You, very true. Very, very true. I actually wrote a song the other day that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It'll probably never go out to anywhere, even like on YouTube. It won't even make the Facebook blooper reel, but it's called The Irish Watermelon. I have no clue what I came up with it, but it was, yeah, it
The,
made no sense. But yeah, Irish Watermelon.
the Irish watermelon.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's more of a kid song. And literally when I got done with it, I was scratching my head saying, I need to go to bed because that song is bad. Like it just made no sense whatsoever. It's just really dumb. So it
Well,
works.
well, wait a minute now. And you got children, and they probably think that song is one of the greatest. Because I've seen some YouTube of you and your kids.
Oh yes. Well,
Man,
and that's the thing.
they can have you doing anything.
Oh yes, for sure. Yeah. But it's so funny because these kiddos, they give me so much inspiration, and we actually are working on some special surprises coming up late 2024, of course into 2025 as well. And we've got some very special things that's taking place, and I'm writing all kinds of different kid songs for them. They're actually me and the kids are actually writing right now a little kids book, and different stuff like that. You know, just kind of having fun and just making memories with the kids, and we'll see what happens from there.
Well, now I know I've seen some your kids singing. Are you teaching them a little bit about the vocals, or are they
Oh yeah.
teaching you?
Yeah, a little bit of both, I think, actually. No, it was really funny because we haven't announced it yet, but I'll go ahead and throw it out here and let you guys know. Um, the kids were actually going down the road the other day, and my oldest, her name's Ella, she'll be 9 actually on Sunday, the 15th, if you can believe that. She's all excited because she's so close to double digits, and I'm just like,
Uh-oh,
yeah, let's not talk about that, please,
preteens.
because I'm getting old, obviously. But we were going down the road, and they decided they wanted to write a song, and we actually all three of us wrote a Christmas song together that they did so well with, and we're actually going to the studio in a couple weeks to actually have them to record their very first Christmas song,
Uh,
and we're going to put it out and everything that they wrote. It's there's now, of course, I tweaked it a little bit, but overall, the overwhelming majority is they wrote it, and they're excited about it. They're ready to get in the studio and record it. So there's going to be some fun stuff, and now they're even at the point now to where they're like, Dad, we want to do a music video. So now that's in the talks, and of course, my record label is all about this at this point. They're just like keep pushing. My kids are like, yeah, let's do it, let's make it happen. So there's really no telling what may happen between now and November. Um, Dad's a little scared, not gonna lie, because it's like what is about to take place, with everything that's going on. But my kid even actually told me we did a big concert last night in Hickory to celebrate the number one song, and my youngest kid told somebody last night that they were my retirement plan. So I'm like, all right, that'll work. So I guess they're taking up the family business for sure.
well,
So they'll sit back and manage and let them do the singing.
well, that's right. And how many artists out there that has done that, especially some of the old school
Exactly.
artists. Uh, but
Exactly.
they're gonna, and they're funny. And like I said, they can get you to do anything, say anything, and stuff, and look like that you have a great relationship, have great fun with them. You take them everywhere you go, and just
Yes.
and and I think that is a good testimony of your songs, because your
Yes.
songs
Yes, sir.
representing Christ and the gospel, and it talks about being a good family man,
Right.
and I think you're a good representative of that, and they're gonna go far, because just by listening to you and your encouragement, and plus you already will be teaching them the ropes, because you had to come up kind of finding out everything on the raw, didn't you?
Yeah, for sure. And that was something like I really, it was a lot of trial and error, but I was able to learn a lot. And not only was I able to teach myself, I guess you could say, and learn a lot, but I've been able to help other artists as well to learn the ropes
Hmm.
and help them, whether it's in the gospel music world or even the indie country world that still has a huge following and still has the opportunity to share some love and forgiveness and hope, may not necessarily be Christian music, but
Hmm.
it's still able to share a good love and hope and encouragement. And that's something I really feel called to do, is just helping other artists and teaching them so that they don't make the mistakes I did growing up and growing into the music industry.
Well, it kind of we all have our growing pains in growing up.
Yeah.
Now, there's one song that you that I guess maybe one of the first ones. I don't know, but Blue Jeans and Biscuits.
Blue jeans and biscuits. Yes, sir.
But that's a neat video. I like that video. And
Yes, sir.
eh, where did you well, I know about blue jeans, I know about biscuits, but how did you put this together as being a song?
So me and a few of my buddies went out on a camping trip one weekend up in a little town called Maggie Valley, North Carolina.
Yep.
And we were sitting by the fire. One of my buddies had his guitar out, and another guy that he's just hilarious. He was sitting there. It was a pair of shorts. It was in August, and he looked at me and he was like, "Boys, it's getting cold. I gotta go put some blue jeans on." And the guy that had the guitar, his name was Michael. He looked up at him and he was like, "Well, dude, why you in there? Make me a gravy biscuit and bring it to me." And I started laughing. I was like, "There you go, boys, blue jeans and biscuits, and you're good." And next thing you know, Michael just started playing some kind of tune, and I started writing that song. We actually wrote that song beside, like around a campfire one night. And then, of course, we went back, fell in love with it. I was like, all right, we're going to put this on an album just for the fun of it. Didn't even think it was going to do anything big, but it hit so quickly and people loved it that we wound up going back to Maggie Valley to actually shoot the music video.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was quite unique. It was supposed to be just a joke. It was one of those in the joke kind of songs, but it wound up honestly dominating across the board and actually wound up being my very first number one song. And to this day, I still have people just like last night. I had somebody come up to me and was like, "Hey, can you sing Blue Jeans and Biscuits for me?" And I was like, "Do you know how old that song is?" But
Well,
apparently now it's a classic. It's actually known as a classic in faith country music now. So
well, it came out in 2016 of October, and it was hit number one there like 2 months on the chart, national chart.
exactly.
And that's it, you're probably 20 years from now, someone's going to still ask you to sing that same song.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
exactly.
and just
Exactly.
think of some of the other classics, even say for email Elvira, look at the
Hmm.
classics and how long those been. Everybody, they always bring up your top song, want you to sing it,
Right.
and
Right.
they don't forget that.
Exactly.
Now, you had another one that you've written recently here. Does heaven have a dirt road?
Oh yes. Yeah, so that one was another fun one. Again, another life experience. I was actually in East Tennessee with a pastor friend of mine that I always do on a Saturday night. We always do a special concert once a year at his church, and I always go in early and we go fishing. And so we went fishing and got back to his house that evening and was going to get ready, of course, to go sing. And he had an 8-year-old little boy, and his little boy come up to me and he said, "Hey, question for you." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "Do you think heaven has a dirt road?" And I'm like, "Well, the Bible says the streets are gold." And he's like, "Oh, I know." He said, "But I also know there's a big old crystal sea up in that thing." He said, "There's a big old catfish waiting on me to catch it when I get to heaven." And I start busting out laughing. His dad started busting out laughing. And I looked at him. I was like, "Well, buddy," I said, "how do you know that there's dirt roads in heaven?" He said, "Oh, it's easy." He said, "God does everything perfect, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Don't you think it's going to be a little weird if I got to walk on gold to go catch that catfish?" At about the time that he said that, his dad looked at me and he said, "You're going to write a song about that, aren't you?" I said, "You better believe it. You can't get more Christian country than Heaven and the Dirt Road in the same song." And so we wound up writing that about a week later in Nashville. And it was a number one song, and people just love it. My kids actually have a dance to it now that they've choreographed and work. And so they actually have a dance that they do with it, and it's so fun. It's so fun to watch, and people like again last night when I sung it, as soon as the first note started, first note, the crowd went crazy. They started clapping because they knew what song was coming, and I'm literally up there singing, and you can literally hear people singing to the top of their lungs the song "Does Heaven Have a Dirt Road?" And that's always a wonderful feeling as an artist to know that people love your music enough that they're gonna sing back to you.
Well, they when they start remember the words, we got all our favorite songs that comes up. We can hear that first note. I know, and I know you do, because we you absorb it. And I got a son that at first note he can tell you exactly the artists and what they done and how many. I mean,
Right,
he got thousands of records and albums in his music room.
right,
A radio station would be proud to have what he had.
right.
But we do that, and Heaven Have Dirt Road just kind of caught my eye. I says, I'm thinking, Never thought about that before, and leave it to a child to bring that up,
Exactly.
because we,
Right. And it was so weird the way that the kid brought it up. And it's when I actually sung it for his dad. And of course, for him, he was just sitting there like, yep, that's my song. I created that. So, they were all excited about it. And, it's fun to see your fans really get behind it and really push them as well.
yeah. And now the song that you've written, "My Story," is that a story about you?
It is actually. So my story is one that was kind of like the invitation song from the Everyone Has a Story album, and it's basically one of those to where it just lets us know that every one of us does have a story, and that and this was my story, and just kind of throwing some different ideas and different things in my story out, and basically what that song was written about was just to let folks know that it's the good, the bad, and the ugly that makes up who you are. And just like, you have all these different keys when you're playing the piano to make a song, you have all these different notes that create the melody. It takes everything in your life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, to create your story. And that's what that song was about. And I mean, that song hits home with a lot of folks as well, just to remind them that, yeah, life's going to get tough. A lot of things is going to happen, and it's going to get ugly sometimes, straight up ugly, but it's all part of your story and it's all part of the plan that God's got for your life.
Well, I think it's pretty cool. I think everybody has a story. Uh,
Exactly.
it, it's been written, and in the past, or maybe some things haven't been written in the future, but you can add to it and see. We always have a family get together on New Year's,
Hmm.
and we write each year. We've been doing this for years and years and years now. We write predictions. Make We can make stuff up. It's funny, whatever like that, or about each other, or people we know, and we make
Right.
predictions, and then we seal them, and we don't not look at them till next year. Then
Right.
we open them up and read them. Then we make new
That's
ones.
awesome.
So we've been doing it probably about 25, 30 years,
Oh,
and
wow.
we got a lot of things piled up. Some things happen, and a lot of things don't. but
Right. Right.
but it just goes back with your music here. My story. When I was listening to it, I said it's kind of like that in a way, it's telling everybody's story on what they've done in the past year, or what they've accomplished, what they said they're going to accomplish, or things
Yeah.
like that. So that's a good song. And now
Thank you.
the top of the cross.
Hmm.
Now, what's on the top of the cross?
Hey, so this one is probably my dad's absolute favorite song that I have ever written. And it was that one was really interesting. I was actually in Nashville, and if anybody knows anything about Nashville, you can't get anywhere in Nashville by car in an hour. Like it just doesn't happen. Okay. Like it just doesn't happen. If you've got a specific place you've got to go and get back, it's best if you just walk instead of driving at all. But I was actually in downtown Nashville and I stopped at the tallest building in Nashville and I looked up and I just thought to myself, I wonder what the people on the very, very top floor of that building is actually thinking. If they look down, what do they see? And where I was standing, it was the hustle and bustle of the day. You turn around, you've got buildings everywhere, cars, people, everything, right? And as I'm standing here, I'm looking up and I'm like, what do you think they saw? Because where I was at, I couldn't see the whole city because my view was blocked. And as I'm walking back to the writer's room, because I actually had went over to grab a little snack, and then was on my way back to the writer's room. And when I was on my way back, I got to thinking, I wonder what Jesus saw from the top of the cross. Everybody that was at the foot of the cross, they were looking up, and there was two different types of people on crucifixion day that was at the cross. It was the folks that loved Jesus and the folks that hated him. But both of them were there for one reason, to see Jesus.
Right.
And as I was coming up with this and was thinking this through, these folks had to look up to see Jesus, but everything was clouding their view. They were either excited that he was gone or they were in mourning that he was gone. But either way, they were living in that moment. But then my question was, just like the person on the top floor of that building in Nashville could see the entire city because nothing was blocking the view. What did Jesus see as he was hanging there and was able to look down through the future? And so that's why we put that song together, and it turned out very, very well. Again, that was a #1 song as well for us, and that is my dad's absolute favorite, hands down. If my dad is in the audience, I better be singing "Top of the Cross," hands down, or I will get fussed at for sure. But it's just one of those that really, it was took something that actually happened to me, but was able to relate it to the Christian world. What did Jesus see? Did he look down and see you and me and knew that he had to be that sacrifice so that you and I could live forever?
Yeah, and that's the song itself, and that's why I was going to say where you got that inspiration from, that one, and just from walking into a building or looking up at skyscrapers, and I never really thought about that. So what did Jesus see when he did look down? He had compassion, I know,
Right.
and forgiveness, and and
Exactly.
that's forgiveness of the ones that was mourning and the ones that did this to him. So
Right. And that's the thing. And that's why we can relate that so much, because you're like, did he look down and see all the pain and grief that soon would be brought to victory? You
hmm
know? And it's like, and then of course the verse keeps going on. When he cried out to his father, was he thinking about tomorrow? And it's like he had me and you on his mind thousands of years ago as he was on that cross. And what did he see from the very top of it? And it just gives you cold chills just thinking about it, actually, and just thinking that God went the whole way for you and I. And what did he see from the top of the cross?
yeah. Well, I know in your performances that you give probably 150%, because not only do you just don't get up there and sing. I mean, you're up there telling jokes and getting the audience really pumped up to have a great time.
Right.
And people think in the sense that, well, maybe gospel music is kind of a boring, and you go to a concert, you're going to boring. Like, your shows is not nowhere near boring. Uh,
Well, and that's something that I thrive on, and that I really want to accomplish. And here's why. When you come to a Shellem Cline concert, I want it to be an experience, not just another show. You can go to a restaurant and have somebody standing in the corner playing a guitar and singing to you, you know, and it's basically just background music. I don't want to be that. I want it to be when you go, you have an experience. When you walk out of there, you're going to be talking about that, and something's going to change your life. Something's going to encourage you. And I love to have fun. I do. I want to make it exciting. I want to make sure the audience members are all a part. I want to make sure that you have an experience when you come to a Shellem Cline concert. And that's something that I get all the time. I actually had someone last night showed up because they had seen the big thing on Facebook. Because again, we had our #1 party last night, and this young man, he just walked up to me and he's like, "Man," he said, "I'm gonna be honest with you." He said, "I came tonight with my grandmother because she begged me to come to this concert and she needed somebody to drive her." He said, "I was gonna hate it." He said, "I can't stand going to gospel music concerts." This is what the young man said. He told me, he said, "But I had so much fun tonight." He said, "I could have sat here for 2 more hours and listened." He said, "Because it was that much fun." And if I can change that mindset of somebody who maybe is not a gospel music fan, and maybe, I mean, again, a lot of my audience are non-church members that's been hurt by the church, that I can still encourage. If I can do that, then I've done my job correctly.
yeah, and that's one thing about your concerts like that. You get the audience uh, to join in. They're joining in with your concert,
Oh,
and
yes.
they're laughing. They're just having a wonderful time instead of. I pastor a Presbyterian church, and I know that I'll be first to say sometimes I'll probably snooze at some of my sermons, but
Right.
but it's a different reference, it's time to show you that just like King David did when he danced to the Lord's to the music, and this just gives them to let go of themselves and be themselves, but yet be showing their love for Christ in the Christian
Right.
way. And you do that and bring that out there and bring it out of people, and that's a good thing because you're bringing the goodness out of them. Uh, when you laugh, you just kind of you throw away every bad thing in you when you laugh. When you're
Exactly.
and you don't think about bad things and like that. You just I had such a wonderful time, and you bring that to the stage and in all your things. And people, if you want a answer machine. If you want Shellem to be your answer machine when someone calls in, uh, I've heard that answer machine many times from
Oh
Kathy.
yes. Gotta have fun, man. You gotta have fun. You got to. And that was I actually and you're talking about Kathy's answering machine there for her phone. We we did that one day, and actually she left her phone open, and I changed it without her knowing, and so somebody called in. And then they called her back, and she was like, "Kathy, what have you done?" And she's like, "What?" No, and she was like, "Shellem, they said there's something weird on my voicemail." And I was like, "Yeah, well, let's check it out." And she started dying of laughing when I played it back for her. It was funny. I mean, it's just got to have fun, got to get people laughing and let them know that even on the worst day of their life, they got a reason to smile.
Well, that was pretty funny and sneaky too.
Oh,
On doing it,
yes. Very sneaky.
I believe the voice was like a country guy or something like that. That was
It
just
was as redneck hillbilly as you could get. Like it was something like, "Hey y'all, this is Kathy. How are you doing?" It was hilarious. It was just to this day, people, yeah, she still gets compliments about her. I don't even know if she's ever changed it, and that's been years ago. I don't even know if she's changed
well,
it
I
yet or
think she
not. But
finally had to change because she got a new phone. So
gotcha.
so
So I guess I'm gonna have to go do her another one. We're gonna
yeah,
have to go do another.
exactly. Just don't tell her.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll take her phone and do it. You distract her, and I'll take it. All right.
Now you have some
Mm.
people that sing with you sometimes. Don't want to leave them out either. That I've seen them. I mean, was it a bus y'all tour you went on a little bit? Was,
Yeah, so I get to do some collabs with a few folks. We've got some different artists that I have worked with, and everything. So, for example, the Sounds of Victory is a ladies trio out of
mhm.
Hickory. We've done some dates together. Victoria Stillman, we've done some dates together with them, and we actually are looking in 2025 doing some more collaborations with other artists. This is something country music as a whole has been doing for a while. And so we are really looking at trying to pull together some different Christian country or faith country artists, and doing some different tour dates together, to make it more kind of like a country music scene, where you've got three or four artists coming for a big show, or even contemporary Christians doing that now. So we're excited about that. We are looking, and possibly 2025 is going to be a bigger year with some other folks. But I did a few little collaborations here and there with some different folks. But that's kind of where we're at this point, and hopefully 2025 we'll see more of that.
Well, the reason I said that you collaborate with some of them like that because you chase them around with your video camera, with your phone
Yes,
camera.
that's true.
Because
That's true.
I see them like I said, don't do that, no, and you're
Yes.
chasing them
Yeah.
down, and I think that is hilarious because they might even have a bad day or something, but you come up and say something to them, make them laugh, or but it just makes to me when I look and see those little videos like that, I laugh because I know y'all having a wonderful time, even though it's work. It's not something
Yes.
easy, is it? You got to work at this, right?
Oh, oh, yes, very much so. A lot of people, and this is one of the most biggest misconceptions. I've got people tell me all the time. They're like, "So you work like 2 days a week, and then what do you do at the house? You just lay around and watch TV?" And I was like, "Yes, that's exactly what I do." Considering I don't even have television at my house. Like we only have Netflix here. Okay, that's because there's no need me paying for it if I don't ever watch it. I don't
Right.
even get to watch football at this point. But it's one of those things that I do. It is a lot of work. It's a whole lot harder than a 40-hour week job, honestly, because you're always working on stuff, working on new music, and working on some different tour dates and getting ready for this tour, that tour, and things like that. It's a lot harder than I even thought it was going to be when we went full time. And I've been full time. This is my 8th year full time, and it was a whole lot harder in 8 years than I've ever thought that it would actually be.
Well, you know you've got to constantly work with your agent to book venues and things like that. It's constantly if you want to go that far, this far, and you travel
Right.
all the time. And I know that when you're traveling like that, not only that you're working there, you're working away from home, away from family, and you know you call on the phone back and forth a little bit there, but it's not like being there. You might even Skype or something, but
Right.
it's still not like being there. And especially when you're in a hotel room or something like that, and it's dead silent when you used to your kids coming jumping on you and y'all doing all this
Oh,
kind of
yes.
crazy stuff that I see you do.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, when I'm on the road, I get the opportunity. I'll give the kiddos a call, and we'll just sit and just talk about our day. But it's not like having them crawl up in your lap and watching Bluey or something, on television.
Right.
Um, and that's kind of where we're at that point. And but again, my kids love it. They get to go on the road with me sometimes to some shows, and when they're on the road with me, they'll come up on stage and do their dance to Heaven Have a Dirt Road or sing a song or something like that. But it's exciting. It's exciting to see where these kiddos are doing, and I definitely miss them when I'm off the road for sure.
Well, I can see that because you know, like you have so much fun and all. Now you've had a lot of awards on your music, and we're gonna get you a hit song here in a moment too. You've had your charter songs that's just been on the charts, and then you had your all kind of awards. Uh, New excelling artist, lead vocalist of the year, songwriter of the year, song of the year, young excellent individual of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like on and on like this. Christian country artist of the year. I mean, you know, I couldn't get my head in my door if I was all those right there. But I
It's
was just looking at all these awards every year that you talking about 8 years you've been in there. It just going and going and going that you've been blessed with these beautiful songs that you've been writing and singing.
and it's great. It's great, and it's so funny because I've got like all these plaques and everything that are up in my office and things like that, and they each one of them means something different to me. But it's really weird because it's funny how when folks introduce me or when I'm doing radio shows or podcasts or things like that, they always get to the different awards, and I always tell them, I'm like, I said at the end of the day, those awards they mean a lot to me. They really do. But furthermore, I use that as a teaching tool for my kids. At the end of the day, I want my kids to succeed. And so I tell them, I'm like, guys, I said, all these awards, dad wasn't just handed them. They didn't just hand over young excelling artist of the year or songwriter of the year. I said, you had to work for it. And I told them, and we've got this phrase at our house right now that I use. It's a sin to do less than your best. And I tell my kids that, and I'm trying to instill that in them that, no matter what they choose to do, like for example, Ella is wanting to be, like I said, she's turning 9 next week. She wants to be a zookeeper when she grows up. She wants to own a
Ah,
zoo. Okay. Kind of cool, right? Lena, on the other hand, wants to be a doctor, a singer, and a veterinarian all in one.
well, see, that could really happen if you think about it. She could become a doctor and sing to the dogs, and
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. So, but I tell them, I'm like, girls, I said, no matter what you want to be when you grow up, you've got to work for it. Things are not going to just be handed to you. If I had someone just to continue to hand me things so that I didn't have to work for, I would not appreciate the talent that God's given me and not appreciate the ministry that God's given me. But because the fact that I've had to work for it, and we've had a lot of obstacles, trust me, we have had to go through so many hoops to make different things happen. But the harder you work, the more passionate you are about your craft. And that's what I try to tell my kids is like, you gotta keep moving. And it's a sin to do less than your best. So get out there and be the very best that you possibly can be.
well, you know, you're right. You've got to work work for it, and people don't realize, like you said, they think you just work 2 days a week and have the rest of the week off and just have it made, just kick back. But you're constantly writing, thinking. Uh, Now, I'm trying to think if you instruments you play.
So I play a little bit of piano and a little bit of guitar. Now you will never find me playing either one of those on stage because I have that OCD, ADD, ADHD, all the above, right? And
Yes.
so it's like I can't just sit still. Like I'll start playing a song and I'll just stop and sing it, and then I'll be a cappella. So that's why I have the band playing, or of course we use our soundtracks. But I can, like when we're writing, I do pick some stuff out and work those two instruments. Yes.
Well, you're like me. I've got all those alphabets also, and even when it's kind of funny that in church we were singing, and it's like a dog, be paying you attention, and a squirrel run across, squirrel, I'm just
Yep.
just like that.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly.
and we were singing. I thought my microphone was off, and it wasn't, and I kind of got distracted. Instead of singing the song, I was going la 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 like that,
Yes.
all over
That's great.
all over the internet.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But
That's awesome.
I know the feeling. My wife plays the piano, and the lady at church plays the piano, and she sings along with it. And to me that's amazing because they can do all this stuff at one time
Right.
and
Right.
and get it right.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing, getting it right. I would never be able to get it right. It would be bad. It would be really bad.
Oh, I know mine would. Definitely. My distraction. You have another song I want to ask you about too. It's called "Country is Cornbread."
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now,
That was a fun song. I had a guy come up to me one time and he was like, "Man, you're about as country as a pan of cornbread." And just right about, I was like, "Yep, sure am. But my daddy's the king of kings." And that evening, I sat down and I wrote this song that just kind of went with it because it was just kind of like a little play on words. Is that, yeah, no matter who you are, you can be country, you can be cityfied, whatever the case may be. Um, but it basically just says that I'm country as a pan of cornbread, but my daddy's still the king of kings, and just reminds us that no matter what walk of life you are, no matter where you are, Jesus still loves you, and he's still your daddy.
exactly, exactly. Now, when you write these songs, and I've asked this question of other artists too, the ones that, of course, write their songs, uh, do you get with someone else to kind of put the music together with that, or do you have a certain tune in your head that you want the artist to, the musician to play? How do you come up with the song part of it? Now you've got the written part.
It's actually both. So I do have a tune in my head a lot. When we do a lot of co-writes in Nashville, usually I make sure to work with somebody that's fantastic on the melody, and they just come out and just rock and roll with it. And then I work a lot of the lyrics. We just kind of bounce the ideas off of each other, and make it happen. So it's actually a little bit of both. I'm one of those guys to where we've had several sessions to where guys come in and said, "Hey, I've got this melody stuck in my head. Let's write a song to it." And we've done that. We've got some where I walk in with lyrics. I'm like, "Guys, this is what I'm thinking," and just back and forth. So I would say it's all across the board, and it just really depends on the day, to be honest with you. Which that sounds like a good song in itself, by the way. Depends on the day. But yeah, so needless to say, that's kind of how we operate that for sure.
I just kind of was wondering about that because I asked, one artist that was telling me about, I think it was Monty Island that plays for
Yeah,
uh, uh, Alan Jackson, and he's got a lot of music himself that he sings, which is beautifully, and he writes a lot of his music and puts the music, and he can play and stuff too. So he plays the good instruments, and so he kind of
right.
puts it with it. Now I just was curious about how you did that with others, because I know you have a writing session and
Right.
get men and women there that play different instruments and things that can add all these little bells and whistles to it.
Oh yes, yes. It's so creative to watch these guys. They just dominate across the board. And you're just like you just feel cool sitting around them. To be honest with you, you just feel cool. It's all there is to it.
Now, tell the folks that's listening and all that where they can go and hear your music, where they can go purchase your music, some merchandise, and some upcoming events that you have coming.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so we of course are all over all streaming platforms: YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, whole nine yards. All of our music is on the streaming platforms. You can get those. You can also go to my website, shellemcline.com. So it's SHELLE as in Edward, M as in Mary, Cline, CLINE, shellemcline.com. Learn information there. There's a lot of music there. Also, Facebook and Instagram. You just search Shellem Cline Music. Just add music to my name. And of course, you can follow that, keep up with all the cool things that's happening there, and hear a lot of music and stuff from there. A couple big events that we do have. Of course, last weekend we just finished up what we call our number one weekend. We were able to play at my hometown fair that I grew up going to, the Iredell County Fair up in Troutman. Packed out place on Saturday night, which was really awesome. Last night, of course, Sunday night, we were at my home church doing the number one party for the song. Again, a packed out house there as well. And we've got some really cool stuff coming up. Actually got an invitation to play at the National Quartet Convention, which is the largest Southern gospel event. And they're starting to incorporate some faith country in as well. So we're playing that at the end of the month. A couple other things, the Lighthouse Gospel Music Festival, which is going to be held actually in Hickory this year, here in my own backyard. We get the opportunity to perform that here for a couple days, a couple festivals and things throughout the year. And then maybe even a couple Christmas shows this year as well that we're going to be able to do.
Well, you're going to do a couple Christmas shows there. I'm just curious if you're going to be the Grinch or the elf or.
Probably the Grinch. I think I would be a better Grinch than anything else, to be honest with you.
Well, wait a minute. I know there's something new they can come up with. We get Shellem on the shelf.
Shell, I love it. We should totally market that, and it could be the singing Shellem on a shelf.
That's it.
Shelf. That's a tongue twister, but I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I think we should really do that.
And then each time they move it, it plays a different song.
That would actually be fun.
Yeah. So
I think you're onto something. I'm gonna have my people call your people on that one.
oh yes, yeah. We are. But that would be fun. And Christmas time is a great time of the year. And I know that with your children, that you just have a fantastic Christmas. I bet you're more excited than they are just by knowing you. You probably can't even sleep during Christmas Eve.
Maybe a little bit, not gonna lie. There may be a possibility that we may or may not have about 30,000 lights going up in our house this year, and inflatables. I mean, it's gonna look like, it's gonna look pretty interesting at our house this year. I can promise you that for Christmas.
Yeah, it'd be
Yeah,
like the
we're
Griswolds.
already preparing, and it's not even Halloween yet. So
Well, it's like the Griswolds, right?
exactly. Well, it's funny because we usually have about 5 Christmas trees up in our house. The kids have to have one in their room. We have one upstairs. Of course, I always have a small one in my office, one in the living room, and then one in our dining room area, or family room area, I should say. And then, of course, I've got everything everywhere. The kids always want to help decorate, and you just never know. You just never know what's going to happen at the Klein house for Christmas. That's
Yeah.
just all there is to it.
Now, does your wife sing?
No, not really. And she does more. She kind of like just kind of hangs out and travel, or doesn't really travel much anymore, and everything. She just kind of stays around and does her own little thing there at the house. So yeah, she
Well,
doesn't.
She
She
takes
doesn't
care
sing
of the
her.
home front there for you to come back to.
Yeah.
I didn't know she was singing. You know, to be a duet going on. You know, just for the.
No, it's just gonna be me and the Munchkins.
Maybe you get some snow this time. Y'all gonna build a snowman.
That would be great. That'd be
Right.
great. We didn't get any snow last year. It flurried a little bit, but
Yeah.
my kids were all about snow, so I had to take them up on or up top of the mountain before we could actually get some snow. So, yeah, I'm hoping for at least a little snow this year for sure.
Did they throw snowballs at you?
Of course they did. Of course they did. And pelted me several times with the snowballs. Yes, very much so.
Well, that's great because that's good time right there. That memories that you never ever can take away.
Exactly. Very true. Very, very true.
Now, let's talk about your number one hit song. Right.
Yes, sir.
Right now, it's called "One for You."
Yes, sir. Yeah, I actually wrote this song. A good friend friend of mine who is another songwriter in Nashville, he passed away. He was actually in the hospital fighting for his life on a ventilator. They're on life support, and the doctors had said there was no hope. And I sat down beside him and I was begging God for a miracle. And I made this statement. His name was Chad. And I said, Chad, I said, today may just be the day, buddy, that God's got one for you. And I actually started writing this song. Very next day, went into a writer's session. Had no desire to be there. They told me I needed to go, to kind of clear my head. But I had no desire to be there because obviously one of my best friends was leaving this world. And I walked in and we sat down. I gave kind of this little chorus that I had written beside Chad's bedside. And we finished up the song. The song wound up doing very, very well for us. It became a huge hit. Was a #1 song for 2 consecutive months now on the largest faith country chart and the second largest faith country chart, which is the first time that has ever happened, that it was on both of those. But it was just one of those simple things to where it's like, today may just be the day that God's got a miracle for you.
Let's see if I was. There we go. Just a little bit of it right here.
The next you're staring back up at the cloud. No one ever said that life was fair. Hardships and hard times, man, I've had my share. But keep on believing there's reason to his right.
And I know that song really touches you because you wrote that for your friend.
Yes. Yes, sir.
So if you just hear some of this music, you will want to go and purchase. Let me get this. There we go. Technology stop.
Gotta love technology, isn't that right?
That is. When it works, it's great. When it doesn't, it just drives you crazy.
It's exactly right. Exactly right.
Especially when you're live, you can't take back live, can you?
It's very true. Very true. Very, very true.
So now, I gotta ask you this question too. When you're up on stage and you're singing like that, have you ever got to that point one time that I know you say you got all them alphabets, ADD and stuff like that, that you
I know where this is going.
that maybe you forgot, skipped a word or two, or
Yes. There was one concert. I was having a bad night. It was really bad. Everything was just going crazy. I actually forgot the words to one of my songs, and I had to rewrite the whole second verse. Okay. Not one word was correct in the second verse. I just literally rewrote the whole thing while on stage singing it. The very next song, I'm like, okay, that's over. Here we go. There was a lighting malfunction and they blinded me with the spotlight, and I fell off the stage, okay, in front of everybody. It was a blooper night. It was a Shellem blooper night is exactly how it was. And I was like, all right, I'm ready to go home, go to bed. I'm done. But it was definitely a night to remember. And there was like 500 people in this auditorium that night, but it was definitely a blooper night. So if anybody ever tells you that even being a professional musician, professional artist, you don't have blooper nights, that is a lie, because I am a living proof that yes, there are blooper nights when it comes to our music, for sure.
yeah, I've heard other artists talk about their blooper nights.
Oh, yes.
And it just happens, and your brain just has a brain freeze, literally. And it's not that you stage fright or nothing. It's just that, oh no, because
You just lose it.
yeah. If you're like me, you're thinking about all these different things that's going on. If I'm
Right.
gonna walk over here, this right here. Now, them blinding me with the with the light. Now, I guess you was a little bit too close to the edge of the stage.
I have no clue. I thought, because so when I've got a big event like that, I usually walk the stage. The way I'll know where my parameters are. So that way I won't fall off the stage, so you'll see me walking. Everybody laughs at me, especially in like bigger events with a bigger stage. I will walk it like 3 or 4 different times just to make sure I've got my parameters. Apparently, I completely misjudged it when the light malfunctioned, and I fell, and I gave a whole new meaning to "Behold, I come quickly." Put it that way to those poor people that was sitting there on the very front row.
Well, at least you didn't fall in the ring of fire, right?
That's exactly right. Exactly right. At least I didn't fall in the ring of fire. That's perfect.
Now we drug out of you the most embarrassing. What has been a show or a moment that you feel that just God just lifted you up to heaven?
There was a one night that I was singing. I was doing a song called "Pray for Me." It wasn't just a few weeks back, and there was this guy on the front row turned around and he looked at his wife and he said, "I can't do this anymore," and he walked off. Walked to the very back of the church and grabbed another guy, two big old built guys, and these guys walked up to the altar, got on their knees together, and just started crying out to God. Come to find out, they were brothers, and they had not talked in almost 2 years because they got mad at each other when their dad passed away.
Oh wow!
About something that was in the wheel, and one brother just found out he had cancer, and so the brother come up to him and he said, "Man," he said, "I've been a horrible brother." And right in front of the church, he apologized to his brother and he said, "Today, I start as your prayer warrior." He said, "We're going to rebuild this thing, and today you're more than my brother. You're my best friend." And man, it was just something about that night that just got you going. It just made you excited, got you all excited about it, to know that, that's where we were at, and that this family was reunited, because, things happen in life. Let's face it. And these two brothers were able to get back together, and just to be able to witness that, and knowing that it was some songs that I was able to sing that brought that family back together. It was great. It was absolutely great. That's what Faith Country really is about.
Oh yes, when you see movements like that, and you just feel that God used your music to move people. And
Exactly.
Sometimes music can move people more than just words.
That's exactly right.
Yourself.
Exactly.
I know I've heard old school music or different music, and just get there, and I said, you just feel it and you get that peace.
Yeah. Very true.
Well, Shellem,
Very true.
our time is just about a couple of seconds here up, a few minutes, but I appreciate you coming on and sharing your life, part of your life, and your music, and we just will keep on praying for you that you just keep on hitting the top of the charts, and we just enjoy your music, your talent, and just keep letting them kids put them videos on there, them messing with you too.
That'll work. We'll do it. Well, thank you so much for letting me hang out with you this evening. And like I said, make sure you go check out ShellemCline.com and also Shellem Cline Music on Facebook and Instagram. And go follow those pages. That way it looks like I have friends.
There you go. Well, you have a good night, and we will talk to you later on. And
Yes,
and God bless.
God bless you as well. Thank you so much.
Get these guys off here. All right, you was listening to Shellem Cline. Let me get my little get a little of his background music on there while I talk to you. Tony Malk's going to be our next week. He's out in California, and he's kind of got some good stories about how he's helped NASA, and also is helping the Indian reservation out there to learn some technology, and he just got all kind of wonderful things we'll be talking to him about, and we'll be bringing him all the way from California to little old Buffalo, South Carolina. Well, I'm Jerry McKee. Thank you for watching Prime Time with Jerry McKee and Shellem Cline. Have a good night.